Hey everyone, welcome back to Code with Poonam. If you're new here, make sure to hit the like button and subscribe for more coding tutorials. We are on day 2 of our 30-day pattern challenge. And in this video, we are going to learn how we can print a solid square pattern where each row is filled with its row number using the JavaScript. So let's proceed with this challenge and we will move towards our VS Code. If you see in the VS Code, we have here our question, okay? So we have written here what? Write a JavaScript function to print the following pattern, right? And what is the pattern? In the output, we have written, right? So in the first row, we have written here that it should be printed 1. In the second row, it should be printed 2. In the third row, it should be printed 3. And in the fourth row, it should be printed 4. So that is what I said. We have to print a solid square pattern itself where each row will be filled with its row number, okay? Now we will come down and we are going to break down our question. So we will note the important part of this question. So what is the first thing here? That is we have to print here what? The following pattern using our JavaScript function. So I will take this and I am going to put it over here. After that, what it is written? To print the following pattern, right? So what is the pattern? We have to print a solid square pattern, right? So I will just remove this and we will write here what? What is our pattern? A solid square, correct? Then we will come above and we are going to define our function name as well. So I will write here what? Print pattern as our function name. So let us put here a parenthesis also. So this will be our function name and we have to print here our pattern a solid square and we have to print the row numbers. Now let us come down and we will write the approach for this particular question. That means we are going to see that how we can reach to the particular output. That means to this particular pattern, okay? So for that, what we are going to do, we are going to create a variable, okay? And we will be initializing with an empty string. So I will write here what? Let str is equal to empty quotes. That means I am initializing with an empty string. And this is going to hold what? Our final pattern, okay? That is what we are going to do. Now, after that, in this question, what we are going to use? Definitely a nested loop, right? So what is a nested loop? Nested loop means what? A loop inside a loop, right? So I will just write here what? Loop inside a loop. We are going to use it. So what will be our loop? We will have our outer loop. We will have our inner loop as well, right? So I will just write here what? Our outer loop. Then we will come down and we will write here what? Inner loop, okay? Now our outer loop is what going to do? It is going to control, I can say, our number of rows, okay? So I will just write here what? Control number of rows, okay? Then we will come down and for the inner loop, it is going to control our number of columns. So that also I will take it from here and I will just put it over here. And in place of rows, I will write here what? Columns. So the outer loop is going to handle or control our number of rows and we are going to consider this as our I loop, okay? Now, we will come down and we will assume that our inner loop is what? J loop, which is going to control our number of columns, okay? So, I will write here what? Our J loop, okay? This is what it is going to be now. Now, we will have to understand how this pattern we are going to get. So, I will take this pattern itself and I will put it over here, okay? Now, if you see here, we have to identify our start point, end point also, right? Whenever we are working with the loop, we have to understand what will be the start point, what will be the condition, that means where it is going to terminate the loop. So that will be the end point of it, right? And increment, obviously, it will be there. That is there in the syntax itself, right? So this is what we have to understand from this itself, okay? Now, if you see here, how many rows we have, we can easily say this is the first row, this is our second row, right? This is our third row and this is our fourth row, correct? So that is what we have. And where is the columns? We have top, right? So this is our first column, this is our second, this is our third, and this is our fourth, right? If you see, this is our first column, right? This is our second, this is our third column, this is our fourth column, right? So here we have what? 4 times 4 we have. Rows and columns are what? 4 and 4, right? Now here, this will be what? Our J loop, right? So I will write here what? J loop, because this is going to control our number of columns. So this will be our J loop, and this will be what? Our I loop, right? So I will just write here calls first and then our J loop. Here I will write what? Rows, and then I will write here what? I loop, okay? Let me just put a space here, and here as well I will just put one space, and here as well let us take this here itself so that we can have a alignment proper now. Okay, if we can see properly, we have written this is our columns, which is our J loop representing, and this is our I loop representing, right? So let us take this and we are just going to put it down also. So this will be our I loop, this will be our I loop. Now you can see here very clearly that our I loop is what? 1, 2, 3, 4. And this is what is there in the output. So we have to print our row numbers. That means we have to print our I value. Correct? So we will be printing here what? I value. So that is what is the understanding we are getting from this particular point. Now, since we have understood this, now let us come down and understand that where our I and J loop is going to start and where it is going to terminate. So I will write here what? Our I loop, okay? And then I will write here what? Our J loop. Let us come above and we will write here the start point for it, and we will write here our end point for it, okay? And let us take this and we will put down here, okay? Now for the I loop, we can clearly see here that it is going to start at 1, and where it is going to end, it is going to end at 4 itself, right? So I will write here start as 1 and end is what? 4, correct? So let me put it over here. Now let us check our J loop also. So if you see, the J loop is starting at 1, right? And our J loop is going to end at where? 4 itself, right? So this is third, this is second, this is first, right? So 1, 2, 3 and 4. So here also the start will be what? 1 and end will be what? 4. And we will assume this, that whatever the end point is, we are going to store it inside n, and we will write here what? N will be 4. Okay, so let me put it over here. Now with this, then what will be our condition then? I is going to start at 1, and where it is going to end, it will end at I should be less than or is equal to n, correct? And definitely there will be an increment. So this will be our condition, right? Entire. After that, what we are going to write here for the J loop, let us see. So J will be also 1. Where it is going to end, it will terminate at J less than or is equal to n, and definitely inside the loop, we will have to increment also, right? So this is what we are going to do it, okay? Now let us come down and we will write our for loop, okay? And then we will see how we are going to check each and everything over here, okay? So let us write here our for loop first, and inside that our outer loop, that means our I loop. So I is equal to 1, then I less than or is equal to n, and I plus plus, correct? Then our inner loop, okay? That means our nested loop. So I will write here once again our for loop, okay? And then let J will be what? J is equal to 1, and J should be less than or is equal to n, and then J plus plus, correct? Now inside this, we have to write a logic where it is going to print this particular pattern, right? So I will write here inside this, we will have to write a logic for printing out the pattern, correct? So that is what we are going to write it. Now, if you see above, we have taken here one variable which is going to store our final output. So using this particular variable only, we are going to write the logic, okay? So what we are going to write? We will write here what? Our str plus is equal to, I am going to write here our I directly. Why? Because every instance here, when this loop is running for the first time, our I value will be 1, right? And our internal loop is going to run, right? So that many times it is going to run, it is going to give me the I value, which will be 1. And since we are putting inside this string, that means empty quotes, it will keep concatenating, right? And therefore, we will get our final output as what? First time 1, 1, 1, 1. So 4 times 1 we are going to get, okay? So that execution we will see down once again, okay? And after that, for the first line printing, we want that it should move to the next line, right? So in the same string, we are going to concatenate our backward slash n. Okay. So I will write here what? str plus is equal to double quotes backward slash n, and this is what it is going to take it to the next line. Okay, so this will be our entire logic which we are going to write it, and after that we are going to print our str, and that is where we are going to get our final pattern as an output. Okay, so this will be our desired output. Okay, now let us come down and we are going to see the working of it, how it is going to perform. Okay, now, first time, what will happen? Our I will be 1, right? And I will be less than or is equal to n, right? And I plus plus. So, I will take this and I am going to put it over here, okay? Now, let us substitute the values here. So, what we have? I is equal to 1. I is less than or is equal to 4, correct? And I plus plus, okay? So, when I is equal to 1, I is, that means our 1 is less than or is equal to 4, correct? That means the condition is true, right? So I will write here what? True, and therefore it will enter inside our J loop, right? And therefore it is going to be what? J is equal to 1, J is less than or is equal to n, right? And J plus plus, the increment also. And if the condition is true, it is going to print our I value, okay? So let us take this and we are going to put it over here. And we will then substitute the values also for this, okay? So let us write this here. Now j is equal to 1. That means 1 is less than or is equal to 4, right? That means it is true, right? Now since it is true, so I will write here t, and then we are going to get here as what? 1. So 1 will be printed, correct, for the first time. After that, j plus plus will happen, correct? And then what will happen? J will become 2. Then 2 is less than or is equal to 4, right? And then again it will be true. Let us write it over here and see. So j will be 2 and 2 is less than or is equal to 4. It is again true. So we will get one more 1, okay? Then again our j value will become what? 3, right? So I will write here what? J is 3. Then 3 is less than or is equal to 4. Once again it is true, then we are going to get here what? Again as 1, right? Then after that, once again, the j value is going to increment. So we will write here what? J is equal to 4. 4 is less than or is equal to 4. Once again, it is true, right? So that is where 1 will be again printed. 1 means what? It is our I value. That is what I am writing here. 1 means our I value. So now let us come here and once again increment. So now we will write here what? J is equal to 5. Then we will get here what? 5 is less than or is equal to 4. Now here the condition is going to fail, correct? And therefore here itself our loop will what happen? It is going to terminate, and then we are going to get our final output inside a string, because whatever it is, we are storing inside an empty string, right? If you go above, you can check it here. It was an empty string. So now we will come down and we will write here our final output as what? 4 times 1 will be printed, okay? After that, what will happen? Our I value is going to increase definitely. So then it will become what? I will become 2. So I will write here what? I is equal to 2, correct? So let us substitute here. I is equal to 2 and 2 will be less than or is equal to n. That means our 4 and I plus plus. Now here again the condition is true, right? Now once again what will happen? It is going to print this particular line again. Same thing it is going to do it. So j will be 1, j will be 2, j will be 3, j will be 4, j will be 5. At 5, it is going to terminate. And here, instead of getting here 1, here we are going to print what? 2. Why 2? Because we are printing the I value, not the any other value. It is the I value. So here I is equal to 2. And since we are printing 2, everywhere we will get here what? 2. Okay. So I will write here 2 again. And then here we will get our final output as 4 times 2. Okay. This is what it is going to happen. Then after that, again I value is going to increment, right? So we will have here what? I is equal to 3, right? So I will write here what? Our I is 3. and then 3 is less than or is equal to 4, again it is true, right? So then again this is going to run. J is equal to 1, J is equal to 2, J is equal to 3, J is equal to 4, and J is equal to 5. At 5 it is going to terminate. But only the point is, since we are printing our I value, here we will get what? 3. So just let me write here 3 now. So I will get here again 3, here as well 3, and here the same it is going to terminate. And the final output for this particular thing we will get 4 times as 3, right? Then again it is going to increment, right? So we will get here what? I is equal to 4, correct? So I will just take this line and I am going to put it over here, correct? So I is equal to 4 we will get. So 4 is less than or is equal to 4, right? That is what we are going to get. And then again it is true. So this is again it is going to execute 4 times, right? J is equal to 1, J is equal to 2, J is equal to 3, J is equal to 4, right? At 5 it is going to terminate. Here we have to print what? Our I value, right? So therefore we are going to get here what? 4, correct? So here again we will print 4. Here again it is going to print 4, okay? So I'll just write here 4. And after that here also 4. And then at J is equal to 5, our loop will terminate because the condition is failing. And we are going to get here what? 4 times 4, okay? Then again it is going to increment, right? I is equal to 5 it will happen. So let me just write it over here. I is equal to 5, and then 5 is less than or is equal to 4, correct? This is what we are going to get. But here the condition is failing because 5 is bigger, right? So I will write here what? It is failing. That means it is false, right? And since it is false, then what will happen? Our both the loop is going to terminate here itself. So I will write here termination will happen for both the loops. So let us just write here. And therefore our final execution will be completed, and after that we are just going to print our final str, okay? Now here, because of this, whenever this loop is running, after this what it is going to happen? Because of this, it is going to take it to the next line. So this we will see when we are writing inside our function our loop, okay? So this is what our entire execution, how it is going to perform, okay? Now let us come down and we are going to write our code, okay? So let us just open this terminal first, and I will open this new terminal and we will keep it over here like this. And we will just save this particular file as well. And now let us write our function. So I will write here what? Our function, and our function name will be what? Print pattern, parenthesis, okay, and flower braces. And let us quickly invoke this function. So I will write here what? Print pattern, correct? This will be our function name. And here I will pass here as an argument 4, okay? And here we are going to put it here n as an parameter. Now let us come down and I will just write here what? Console.log of n. This is what I am going to write it. Now let us come here and run this particular file. So whenever we want to run, open your terminal and make sure you are writing node and the file name. So node 02 and hit enter. Now, if you see, you are getting here what? 4. So that means whatever you are passing, you are able to receive inside the function, and we are able to get it in the terminal also. That means everything is running properly, okay? Now, after that, what we have to do? We have to create here a variable, right? So I will write here what? Let str is equal to double quotes. That means empty quotes. And here, what we are doing? We are initializing this with an empty string, okay? Now let us write our nested loop. So I will just write here what? Nested loop. Then we will just, I'll take this little down so that we can view it properly. And we will write here our for loop. Let I is equal to 1, correct? I should be less than or is equal to n, and I plus plus, okay? Then inside that one more loop, that means our j loop. Let j is equal to 1, correct? Then j is less than or is equal to n, and j plus plus, right? Then we will come here and what we are going to write? We will write str plus is equal to I directly. So it is going to concatenate our I value inside this particular string. Okay. Now let us come down here outside this loop, and I will just console it out and I will just show you. Okay. So I will print here our str. Now let us rerun it. So I will just run this file once again by writing node 0 to pattern.js. Okay. Now you see we are getting everything in a single line, right? So that is where the role of our \n will come. Okay. So this is what we are going to put now. So we will come down, and what we will write here now, we will write here after this str plus is equal to double quotes backward slash and n I will write, and I will just save it, and let us come here and we will write here what node 0 to pattern.js and hit enter. If you see, now you are getting what? Here as 1, here as 2, here as 3, and here as 4. So each row it is printed properly and we are getting our exact output, right? So that is what it was needed and we have achieved that successfully. If you pass here 5, you are going to get the 5 times 5 square. Okay. So that is what it is going to get. So this is what we have done. Now let us come about and we are going to quickly have a recap of this particular question. Okay. So if you see here, what was our question? It was said that we have to write a JavaScript function to print the following pattern, and this was the pattern. If we can see, it is nothing but a solid square, but here we have to make sure we are printing the row numbers, right? Then we came down and we broke down the question. We wrote here JavaScript function. We defined the function name as what? Print pattern. And here in the printing the pattern, we understood that it is a solid square which is printing what? Row number. So that is what we have written. Then we came down and we understood the approach, how we can reach to this particular solution. So for that, first we created an empty string, right? That is going to hold our final output. And then we wrote here our nested loop. Then we wrote here our outer loop and our inner loop. Our outer loop was what? Our I loop, which was controlling the number of rows. And our inner loop was what? Our J loop, which was controlling the number of columns, right? Then we put here our pattern. And from that, we understood where is the column, where is the rows, how many columns we have, how many rows we have. And we also identified where we are going to put our I loop and where we are going to put our J loop also, right? Then from that basis, we understood here what will be our start point, what will be our end point, right? And basically what we are going to write it inside the for loop, that also we wrote it here, right? Then we came down and we wrote here our entire execution, right? So first our outer loop, right? Then our inner loop, and then here we were printing the pattern, right? By concatenating inside our empty string, right? Then after this loop, we wrote here what? Str plus is equal to our backward slash n, because we wanted to take it to the next line, right? And once everything is done, we can just print our pattern, that is nothing but our str variable, right? So that is what we have done. Then we came down and we understood the working also, right? If you see clearly here, we have understood very thoroughly the working. What will happen when I is equal to 1, when I is equal to 2, when I is equal to 3, and I is equal to 4. And here at I is equal to 5, both the loop is going to terminate, right? And internal loop also we understood very clearly what it is going to happen, right? And then finally we have printed our str variable, correct? And then the same thing we wrote inside our function also. Then we came down and we wrote our function as what? Print pattern, which was accepting here as an parameter n. And at line number 55, we just consoled it and we got our output as our 4, right? And then we created here an variable as an empty string. And then we wrote our nested loop. And then finally we printed our str also, right? And we saw the proper execution here. What if we are not writing this, then how we are going to get the output? So for that purpose, we did this and we got our final output here. And just we consoled here what? Our str. And at line number 66, we just invoked our function by passing the value as what? N, that is nothing but our argument. And now let us just clear the terminal, okay? Here I'll just clear it up and I will just comment our line number 55. I will save it and I'm going to run here what node 02 pattern.js. Okay. And we are going to get our final output. So this is what it was needed and we have done the same. So guys, try experimenting with different values of n and let me know your results in the comments. If you found this video helpful, don't forget to like, share and subscribe for more programming tutorials. And I will see you in the next one. So till then, keep coding, keep learning, keep growing. And thank you so much, guys.